Hello, welcome back to another episode of Countdown to Christmas. It's the 18th of December today. It's getting cold outside and we're nearing Christmas. So we've got another episode from the series and it's simply what would you pick? And currently Team Necrons are winning this thing 10 points to 7. So if you haven't already watched any of the episodes within this month, there should be a playlist now at the top right of your screen. Click that, go back, there'll be a daily episode from the 1st of December right up until Christmas Day, comparing a Necron unit up against a Space Marine unit, something that's very similar in stature. And today we're going to be doing the Doomsday Ark against the Gladiator Lancer. So there's only 10 points difference, as you can see here, 170 points versus 180 points. Although there are some upgrade options for the Gladiator tank, which we'll talk about later in the video. Just bear in mind guys that this is just a bit of fun for a video. This isn't too competitive, it's not too serious. We're not going to go through every single detail that we normally would with our advanced tactic videos, but let's jump straight into it. So starting off to compare the stat line, even though the Doomsday Ark's got a 2-inch additional movement over the Gladiator Lancer, it's only strength 6 and toughness 6, whereas the Lancer strength 7, toughness 8, although it does have 3 extra wounds. But for me that toughness 8 is pretty big, and as far as pure stats go, I think that's going to save a lot of wounds there with that toughness 8, so I'm going to give this point to the Gladiator Lancer. Now as for the abilities, of course living metal to regain a lost wound, it's got command protocols, this is the Doomsday Ark of course, it explodes as it's a vehicle, it's got the hovering ability, all standard stuff there, but the best part of all of course is the quantum shield ability for that 5+ invuln save, and you can't wound it on less than a 4+. So even though the Gladiator Lancer has a toughness of 8, in a sense the quantum shielding gives this Doomsday Ark a toughness whatever you want really against the high strength weapons, because you need a 4+ just to wound it. So if you're going with a strength 10 weapon, it's effectively like a toughness 10 model. Now with the Gladiator's abilities, you've got Angels of Death of course, so the combat doctrines are going to come into play there. You've got the Aquilon optics, so when you're using the laser destroyer, you're going to get a +1 to the hit roll. Then of course it's got the hover tank and explode ability to match what the Doomsday Ark has. So for me this one's an easy one for the Doomsday Ark. That quantum shielding ability usually wins the point on a vehicle model, it's almost priceless. Now onto the damage output, of course you've got the Doomsday Cannon, and when you're using its high powered variant, it's 72-inch range, heavy D6, strength 10 -5 AP, and the damage is D6. It's got the blast ability and you do need to remain stationary in order to use the high powered version. But if you're doing this, you're going to average 3.5 shots, which is going to on average get 2.3 hits. Now if you're going against toughness 5 or less, you're going to get about 1.9 wounds, which is going to cause approximately 6.8 damage. Now this is all approximately because of the amount of hits you get and the amount of damage you get, and this is all pre-armor save as well, so take what you will with that. Now if you're going against toughness 6 or more, you're going to get roughly 1.5 wounds, which goes down to 5.4 damage. You then got to add on the Gorse Flayer arrays, and there's going to be 2 of those, 24-inch range, rapid fire 5, strength 4, -1 AP, and 1 damage. So firing at rapid fire range, you're going to get around 8.9 wounds to toughness 3 or less, 6.7 wounds to toughness 4, or 4.4 wounds to toughness 5 to toughness 7, all pre-armor save. And if you're not in rapid fire range, you just simply half in those figures. Then onto the Gladiator Lancer's weaponry, so you've got the Lancer Laser Destroyer, which is a 72-inch range, heavy 2, strength 10, -3 AP, and the damage is D3+3. So really nice on the damage front, although it is only 2 shots there. It then also has 2 Storm Bolters, which are rapid fire 2, strength 4, no AP, 1 damage. So with the Laser Lancer Destroyer shots, you're going to get 2 shots, and because you're hitting on 2s with them because of the ability, you're going to get roughly 1.7 hits. Going against toughness 5 or less is about 1.4 wounds, which is 6.9 damage on average, and then going against toughness 6 or more is 1.1 wounds to make 5.6 damage on average, again pre-armor save. And then as for the Storm Bolters, I've also put the facts and figures there, 3.6 wounds to toughness 3 or less, 2.7 wounds to toughness 4, and 1.8 wounds to toughness 5 to toughness 7. So the big guns are virtually like for like. The Gladiator Lance damage output is slightly more, but we're talking minimal amounts there. But then you've got the Gorse Flayers, which edge it for me so far. However, there are upgrades to look at. So you've got the Fragstorm Grenade Launchers, you can get 2 of those to replace your Storm Bolters. You can then take an additional Iron Hail Heavy Stubber for 5 points, and then you can also take an Icarus Rocket Pod for another 5 points. Now, you've got to remember that the Gladiator Lancer was already 10 points ahead of the Doomsday Ark at the start of the video, so adding 10 points more probably wouldn't be fair, but if you did, it would probably tie up the damage output for me. But because we're not going to be adding those 10 points, I'm going to give this point to the Doomsday Ark. So if you wanted to score this as a tie, it's up to you, but for me I'm not going to be adding those points, and the Doomsday Ark's going to take this one purely based on the Gorse Flayers. Now onto the synergy, starting with the dynasties for the Doomsday Ark, the Mefrit code to add more range. You've got the Saltec code, which is going to help rapid fire for the Gorse Flayer arrays, and then the Nihilak dynasty. Because it's a vehicle with quantum shield, it's going to be very hard to shift with objectives secured. Now if you wanted to go custom with the dynasties, there's 2 in particular that I'd look at from the first list, which is the Eternal Conquerors, again for objectives secured, or Masters of the Martial, so you're going to be able to reroll a single hit roll, which is where you're likely going to be losing dice. Then from the second list, you can either go with Isolationist, so your rapid fire weapon's going to get a +1 to the strength to make it strength 5 within 12 inches, or Interplanetary Invaders, mainly for the first bullet point, which allows the vehicle to fall back and still fire, even though it will be at a -1 to hit penalty. The reason you do this is because the main weapon is the blast keyword and you cannot fire it into combat, so as soon as it gets tagged by a single minor unit, you're not going to be able to fire it at all, which makes it kind of redundant. As for some unit synergy, you can talk about the Canoptic Spider with the Fabricator Claw Array to be healing D3 lost wounds each time, and the Triarch Stalker with the targeting relay to allow you to reroll hit rolls of a 1 if the Stalker already targeted that selected unit. As for stratagems available for the Doomsday Ark, there's 2 in particular that I quite like. The Stellar Alignment Protocol, so you've always got your best bracketed stat line when you're firing and moving and whatnot, although you're not going to likely be moving, you want to be staying stationary for your high powered weapon. And Quantum Deflection for a command point to have a 4+ invulnerable save with Quantum Shielding as opposed to a 5+. Now as for the Gladiator Lancer synergy, starting off with their stratagems, now you've got the option of taking the auto launchers, which is another 5 points. Again, I'm trying not to add extra points to this, but if you wanted to, it will give the smokescreen keyword to give you the smokescreen stratagem, so that it'll be a -1 to hit. It's then got the Grav Pulse stratagem because it's got the repulsor field keyword, which makes it eligible to fire even if it fell back, and also in your opponent's charge phase, it's going to be a -2 to the charge roll when they're charging against this tank. You've then got synergy with the Psyker, using the Psychic Fortress ability, so you'll give it a 5+ invulnerable save because it doesn't unfortunately have an invuln save, and of course the Tech Marine can be healing D3 lost wounds each turn, or a flat 3 if it's a Master of the Forge. Chapter wise, it's going to work in this list of chapters here. If you're playing any of these chapters, you'll know exactly why it's going to synergize, so I'm not going to go through all of these. But all in all, I think both units have got reasonable synergy with both codexes, so I want to give them both the point. Now onto the resiliency. We kind of know where this one goes quite often because of the quantum shielding with vehicles again, 5+ invulnerable save, and you can't move on less than a 4+, and the living metal ability as well on top of that. Then the additional wounds on top of that as well. Now it's quite difficult to ignore the toughness 8 on the Gladiator Lancer, but as already mentioned, even if you've got a strength 12 weapon going up against the Doomsday Ark, it doesn't matter that it's a toughness 6 model, because strength 12 is still going to need a 4+ to wound it, which basically means you've got toughness 12 for that attack. So I've got to give that one again to the Doomsday Ark. So when all's said and done, I've scored this 4 points to 2 in favour of the Doomsday Ark. Now as mentioned previously, you could call the damage output a tie because of those upgrades that the Gladiator Lancer has, but even if you did, that will still be 4-3 for the Doomsday Ark, so the Doomsday Ark has won this video today. So that's going to put Team Necrons on a comfortable lead of 11-7. There's still time for Team Necrons to pull it back before Christmas Day. Let me know below in the comments how you would have scored this one and why, and make sure you put in why as well. That's the most important part here. There's no point just disagreeing for the sake of disagreeing. Let me know why so we can have a bit of a discussion about it, and remember to like and subscribe and all that good stuff if you haven't already. Then the last thing to say here is thank you all for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.